What I'm about to tell you is one of the strangest, most unexplainable stories you will ever hear, and I need you to pay very close attention, because by the end of this video, you're going to question everything you thought you knew about Michael Jackson. We all know the king of pop. We know his music. We know his legendary performances. We know the moonwalk. We know Thriller. We know the glove. But what you don't know is what happened behind closed doors, in hotel rooms across the world for decades. There is a secret that hotel staff have kept quiet for years, a secret so strange, so bizarre, so unexplainable, that most people who witnessed it were too afraid to speak about it publicly. Until now. In every single hotel room that Michael Jackson ever slept in, there was a symbol, the same symbol, drawn on the wall, and nobody knows who put it there. Not the hotel staff, not his security team, not his personal assistants, nobody. It just appeared. And here's the part that's going to send chills down your spine. The symbol would appear before Michael Jackson even arrived at the hotel, sometimes hours before, sometimes days before, as if someone or something knew exactly where he was going to stay. If you think I'm making this up, I understand. This sounds like the plot of a horror movie, but I've spent months researching this. I've talked to former hotel employees. I've dug through old interviews. I've connected dots that nobody else has connected. And what I found changes everything. So before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. I need you to like this video. I need you to subscribe to this channel. And I need you to turn on notifications, because what I'm about to reveal is going to blow your mind. And trust me, you don't want to miss a single detail. Now, let's begin. To understand this mystery, we first need to understand Michael Jackson himself, and more specifically, we need to understand how he traveled. Michael Jackson wasn't just a celebrity, he was the most famous person on the planet. From the 1980s until his death in 2009, there was no one more recognizable, no one more iconic, no one more mysterious. And because of his fame, Michael had to take extreme precautions whenever he traveled. He couldn't just walk into a hotel lobby like a normal person. He couldn't just check in at the front desk. He couldn't just take the elevator to his room. Everything had to be planned. Everything had to be secret. Everything had to be controlled. When Michael Jackson arrived at a hotel, the entire floor would be booked out, sometimes multiple floors. His security team would sweep every room, every hallway, every stairwell. They would check for cameras, for recording devices, for anything suspicious. The windows would be covered with blackout curtains. The air conditioning would be set to a specific temperature. The furniture would sometimes be rearranged or removed entirely. Special air purifiers would be installed. The minibar would be emptied and restocked with specific items. Michael had very particular needs, very particular preferences, and hotels around the world learned to accommodate the king of pop, no matter how unusual his requests might seem. But here's where things start to get strange. Despite all of this preparation, despite all of this security, despite all of these precautions, something kept happening, something that nobody could explain. And it started in 1984. 1984, the year of the Victory Tour. Michael Jackson and his brothers were traveling across North America, performing to sold-out stadiums every night. It was the biggest tour of its time, the biggest spectacle the world had ever seen. And during this tour, Michael stayed in some of the most luxurious hotels in the world, the finest suites, the most exclusive penthouses, the most secure locations money could buy. It was during a stop in Dallas, Texas, that a housekeeper named Maria Santos first noticed something unusual. Maria had been working at the hotel for 15 years. She had cleaned rooms for presidents, for movie stars, for royalty. She thought she had seen everything. But she had never seen anything like this. The morning after Michael Jackson checked out, Maria was assigned to clean his suite. This was normal. This was her job. She had done this thousands of times before. She entered the room with her cleaning cart. She began her usual routine. She stripped the beds. She collected the towels. She emptied the trash cans. And then she walked into the bedroom. That's when she saw it. On the wall, just above the headboard of the bed, there was a symbol, drawn in what appeared to be black ink, or maybe charcoal. She couldn't quite tell. The symbol was about 6 inches in diameter. It was circular, but inside the circle there were lines, curves, shapes that Maria didn't recognize. It looked almost like a letter, but not from any alphabet she knew. It looked ancient, primitive, but also deliberate, precise, as if whoever drew it knew exactly what they were doing. Maria stared at it for a long moment. She felt something, a feeling she couldn't explain, a heaviness in her chest, a ringing in her ears. The room suddenly felt colder, darker. She quickly looked away and continued cleaning. When she reported the drawing to her supervisor, she expected him to be upset. She expected him to ask who had vandalized the room. She expected an investigation. But her supervisor just nodded. He didn't seem surprised at all. Quote, "Don't worry about it," end quote, he said, quote, "Just paint over it," end quote. And that was it. No questions, no investigation, just paint over it. Maria thought it was strange, but she did as she was told. She called maintenance. They painted over the symbol, and that was the end of it. Or so she thought. Maria Santos didn't think about the symbol again for almost a year. Life went on. She continued cleaning rooms. She continued her routine. The incident faded from her memory. But then, in 1985, something happened that brought it all rushing back. Maria was having lunch with a friend named Patricia. Patricia worked at a different hotel, a hotel in Los Angeles. They were catching up, sharing stories, complaining about difficult guests. And then Patricia said something that made Maria's blood run cold. Patricia mentioned that Michael Jackson had stayed at her hotel a few weeks earlier, and when they cleaned his room after he left, they found a strange drawing on the wall, a symbol, circular, with strange lines inside. Maria nearly choked on her food. She asked Patricia to describe the symbol in more detail. Patricia did her best, and the more she described it, the more Maria realized it was the same symbol, the exact same symbol she had seen in Dallas a year earlier. Maria told Patricia about her experience. Patricia was shocked. They compared notes, they compared descriptions. There was no doubt about it. The symbols were identical. Now let me pause here for a moment, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this could be a coincidence. You're thinking maybe Michael Jackson himself drew the symbol. Maybe it was some kind of personal ritual, some kind of artistic expression, some kind of good luck charm. And honestly, that's what Maria and Patricia thought too, at first. But then they started asking around. They started talking to other hotel workers, other housekeepers, other maintenance staff, people who had cleaned rooms where Michael Jackson had stayed. And what they discovered was absolutely terrifying. Word spread through the hospitality industry like wildfire. Hotel workers are a tight-knit community. They talk to each other, they share stories, they warn each other about difficult guests. And now they were sharing stories about Michael Jackson's symbol. A housekeeper in New York had seen it. A maintenance worker in Chicago had painted over it. A security guard in London had photographed it. A hotel manager in Tokyo had tried to investigate it. The stories kept coming from every corner of the world, from every continent, from hotels of every size and class. And here's what made it so disturbing. The details were always the same. The symbol was always circular, always about 6 inches in diameter, always drawn just above the headboard of the bed, always in black ink or charcoal, always discovered after Michael Jackson left. But here's the part that defied explanation. In many cases, hotel staff had inspected the room before Michael Jackson arrived. They had checked every wall, every surface, every corner, and the symbol wasn't there. Then Michael Jackson would stay for 1 night, 2 nights, sometimes a week. And when he left, the symbol would be there, on the wall, above the bed, as if it had been there all along. How was this possible? Some staff members theorized that Michael Jackson himself was drawing the symbol. Maybe he did it at night. Maybe he did it in secret. Maybe it was some kind of ritual he performed before sleeping. But this theory had one major problem. In several documented cases, the symbol was discovered before Michael Jackson even entered the room. Hours before, sometimes even days before. A hotel manager in Paris reported that his staff found the symbol while preparing the suite for Michael's arrival. Michael was still on a plane. He hadn't even landed in France yet, but the symbol was already on the wall. How do you explain that? Now I need to describe the symbol to you in more detail, because understanding what it looked like is crucial to understanding this mystery. Based on the descriptions I've gathered from multiple witnesses, here is what the symbol looked like. Imagine a perfect circle, not drawn freehand, but perfectly round, as if it was traced using a compass or some kind of template. Inside this circle, there are 3 curved lines. These lines start from the center of the circle and spiral outward like the arms of a galaxy or like the blades of a fan. They don't touch the edge of the circle. They stop just short of it. In the very center of the circle, where the 3 lines meet, there is a small dot. Some witnesses described it as a solid black dot. Others described it as more of a tiny circle within the larger circle. Around the outer edge of the main circle, there are small marks. Some witnesses described them as tick marks, like the minutes on a clock face. Others described them as tiny symbols themselves, miniature versions of letters or numbers that didn't belong to any known alphabet. The overall impression was something ancient, something mystical, something that felt like it came from a time before modern civilization. Several witnesses compared it to symbols they had seen in books about the occult, about ancient religions, about secret societies. One hotel worker, who had studied art history in college, said it reminded her of alchemical symbols from medieval Europe, the symbols that ancient scientists and mystics used to represent elements, planets, and spiritual concepts. Another witness, a security guard with a military background, said it looked similar to symbols he had seen in classified documents, symbols associated with projects he wasn't allowed to discuss. But nobody could definitively identify what the symbol meant, or where it came from, or why it kept appearing in Michael Jackson's hotel rooms. In 1992, a hotel manager named David Chen decided to investigate. David managed a luxury hotel in Hong Kong. He had heard the rumors about Michael Jackson's symbol. He had dismissed them as urban legends, exaggerations, gossip. But then Michael Jackson booked a suite at his hotel. David saw this as an opportunity to prove once and for all that the symbol stories were nonsense, that there was a rational explanation, that hotel workers were simply seeing things that weren't there. He implemented a rigorous protocol. First, he had the suite photographed, every wall, every surface, every corner, hundreds of photographs documenting the exact condition of the room before Michael Jackson's arrival. Second, he installed hidden cameras in the hallways, in the stairwells, near the elevators. He wanted to know exactly who entered and exited the floor where Michael would be staying. Third, he assigned a dedicated team of security guards to monitor the floor 24 hours a day. Nobody would enter without being documented. Fourth, he personally inspected the suite multiple times, the day before Michael's arrival, the morning of his arrival, just hours before Michael walked through the door. The walls were clean, there was no symbol. Michael Jackson arrived that evening. He stayed for 3 nights. He attended a series of business meetings and promotional events. He did not leave his suite except for these scheduled appearances. On the 4th morning, Michael Jackson checked out. David Chen personally went to inspect the suite. And there it was. The symbol. On the wall. Above the bed. Exactly as the witnesses had described. David stood there in shock. He had done everything right. He had documented everything. He had monitored everything. He had controlled every variable. And yet, the symbol was there. He immediately reviewed the security footage, every single frame, every single hour, every single moment of Michael Jackson's stay. There was nothing unusual on the footage. No one had entered the suite except Michael himself and his personal staff. No one had carried any drawing materials. No one had approached the bedroom wall. The symbol had simply appeared. David Chen never spoke publicly about what happened. He didn't want to damage his hotel's reputation. He didn't want to be known as the manager who believed in supernatural phenomena. But he did speak privately to colleagues, to friends, to other hotel managers. And his story became legend in the hospitality industry. Over the years, many theories have been proposed to explain the symbol. Let me walk you through the most prominent ones. Theory number 1, Michael Jackson drew it himself. This is the simplest explanation. Michael Jackson, known for his artistic sensibilities and eccentric behavior, simply drew the symbol as a personal ritual. Maybe it helped him sleep. Maybe it made him feel safe. Maybe it was connected to his spiritual beliefs. But this theory doesn't explain how the symbol appeared before Michael even arrived at hotels. It doesn't explain how security footage showed no one drawing anything. It doesn't explain how multiple witnesses saw the symbol in rooms that had been thoroughly inspected just hours before. If Michael was drawing these symbols himself, he would have needed to somehow enter rooms before officially checking in. He would have needed to evade security cameras. He would have needed to do this hundreds of times in hotels all over the world without ever being caught. Possible, technically, yes, but extremely unlikely. Theory number 2, a member of Michael's staff drew it. Maybe it wasn't Michael himself. Maybe it was someone on his team, a personal assistant, a security guard, someone whose job it was to prepare Michael's rooms before he arrived. This theory makes slightly more sense. Michael's advance team did visit hotels before he arrived. They did inspect rooms. They did make preparations. But hotel staff reported that the symbol often appeared in areas that Michael's team had no access to. And even when Michael's team did have access, multiple witnesses confirmed that the walls were clean when the team left, and the symbol appeared later. Theory number 3, it was a hoax, a coordinated prank. Maybe hotel workers were in on a joke. Maybe they were drawing the symbols themselves and pretending to be confused. Maybe it was all an elaborate prank that got out of control. But this theory doesn't hold up either. The witnesses came from different hotels, different countries, different continents. They didn't know each other. They had no connection to each other. They had no reason to coordinate a hoax. And many of the witnesses were genuinely disturbed by what they saw. They weren't laughing. They weren't joking. They were scared. Theory number 4, the symbol was already there, just hidden. Maybe the symbol was painted with some kind of invisible ink that only became visible under certain conditions, exposure to body heat, humidity, time. This is an interesting theory, and it's not entirely impossible. Invisible inks do exist, inks that appear when heated or exposed to ultraviolet light. But this theory requires us to believe that someone went to every hotel Michael Jackson ever stayed at, years in advance, and painted invisible symbols on the walls. The logistics of this are virtually impossible. Theory number 5, the supernatural. And this brings us to the theory that many witnesses quietly believe, but are afraid to say out loud. What if the symbol wasn't drawn by any human? What if it was something else entirely? Michael Jackson was known to have an interest in the supernatural. He owned books about the occult. He was fascinated by magic and illusion. He reportedly held seances and attempted to communicate with spirits. Some researchers believe that Michael may have attracted something, some kind of entity, some kind of presence, something that followed him from place to place, marking his territory with this mysterious symbol. This theory is supported by other strange reports from hotel staff. Multiple witnesses reported feeling an unusual presence in rooms where Michael had stayed, a coldness, a heaviness, a sense that they were being watched. One housekeeper in London reported that objects in the room seemed to move on their own. Chairs would be in different positions. Curtains would be open when she was certain she had closed them. A security guard in New York reported hearing music playing from Michael's suite hours after Michael had checked out. When he entered the room to investigate, it was empty and silent. A maintenance worker in Las Vegas reported seeing a shadow on the wall of Michael's suite, a shadow that didn't correspond to any object in the room. When he turned to look directly at it, it disappeared. These reports are anecdotal. They're not proof of anything supernatural, but they add to the atmosphere of mystery that surrounds this case. Was Michael Jackson haunted? Was he followed by something? Was the symbol a mark left by an entity that traveled with him? We may never know for certain. Here's something interesting that most people don't know. Michael Jackson wasn't the only celebrity associated with strange symbols in hotel rooms. In 1996, a hotel manager in Switzerland reported finding a similar symbol in a room where Prince had stayed. The symbol wasn't identical to Michael's, but it shared some characteristics: the circular shape, the mysterious lines, the sense of ancient meaning. In 2001, a housekeeper in Miami reported finding an unusual marking in a room where Whitney Houston had stayed. Again, not identical, but similar. In 2005, a security guard in Dubai reported seeing strange symbols in a suite that had been occupied by a major Middle Eastern royal. He was warned never to speak about it. Are these cases connected? Are they part of a larger pattern? Some researchers believe that there is a select group of people, the most powerful, the most influential, the most famous, who are marked in some way, marked by forces we don't understand, forces that operate beyond our comprehension. These researchers point to the strange deaths of many of these celebrities. Michael Jackson died suddenly in 2009. Prince died suddenly in 2016. Whitney Houston died suddenly in 2012. Coincidence or something more sinister? I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just presenting the information. You can draw your own conclusions. In the final years of Michael Jackson's life, the symbol sightings intensified. Between 2005 and 2009, hotel staff reported seeing the symbol more frequently, in more rooms, in more locations. And the symbol itself seemed to be changing. Several witnesses reported that the symbol was now larger. Instead of 6 inches in diameter, it was now 8 inches, 10 inches, in one case, almost 12 inches. The lines inside the circle were more complex, more intricate, more detailed. And the substance used to draw it was different, no longer just black ink or charcoal. In some cases, it appeared to be drawn in something red, something that looked disturbingly like dried blood. No analysis was ever done on these markings. They were always painted over or cleaned away before anyone thought to preserve them. But the descriptions from witnesses are consistent. Something was escalating. In February 2009, just 4 months before Michael Jackson's death, a hotel worker in London reported finding the largest symbol yet. It covered almost the entire wall above the bed. The lines were so intricate, so detailed, that the worker said it looked like a map, or a blueprint, or a message. She tried to take a photograph, but her phone malfunctioned. The screen went black, the camera wouldn't work. By the time she got a new phone, the hotel management had already painted over the symbol. 4 months later, Michael Jackson was dead. After Michael Jackson's death, the symbol sightings stopped. Hotels that had regularly reported finding the symbol after his stays no longer found anything unusual. The walls were clean, the rooms were normal. It was as if whatever had been following Michael Jackson Whatever had been marking his territory had finally achieved its purpose and moved on. But some researchers believe the symbol hasn't disappeared. It has simply transferred to someone else. There are rumors, unconfirmed, that the symbol has been spotted in hotel rooms recently, in rooms occupied by current celebrities, current power players, current icons. These rumors are difficult to verify. The hotel industry has become much more secretive in recent years. Non-disclosure agreements are standard. Staff are trained not to talk about high-profile guests. But the whispers persist. The symbol is still out there, marking someone, watching someone, following someone. Who will be next? Now let's talk about what this symbol might actually mean. I've consulted with several experts in symbology, ancient languages, and occult studies. Their opinions vary, but certain themes keep emerging. The circular shape is significant. In many ancient traditions, the circle represents eternity, infinity, the cycle of life and death. It represents completeness, wholeness, the divine. The three spiral lines are also significant. In Celtic tradition, three spirals represent the triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone. In other traditions, three spirals represent mind, body, and spirit, or birth, life, and death, or past, present, and future. The dot in the center could represent the self, the soul, the essence of the individual. It could represent the point of origin, the source, the beginning. The tick marks around the edge could represent counting, measurement, time, or they could represent stars, celestial bodies, cosmic forces. When you put all of this together, you get a symbol that seems to represent a soul connected to eternal forces, a soul being monitored, measured, counted. Is this what was happening to Michael Jackson? Was some force watching him, measuring him, counting down to something? One expert I spoke with had a disturbing theory. He believed the symbol was a marker, a claim, like a brand on cattle. It marked Michael Jackson as belonging to something or someone. And the escalation of the symbol in his final years, the increasing size, the increasing complexity, the change from black ink to red. It was a countdown to the moment when the claim would be collected. June 25, 2009. The day Michael Jackson died. Now I want to be fair. I want to present all perspectives, and there are certainly skeptics who dismiss this entire story. These skeptics argue that the symbol sightings are a case of mass hysteria, confirmation bias, pattern recognition gone wrong. They argue that hotel workers, primed to expect something unusual in Michael Jackson's rooms, simply started seeing patterns where none existed. A water stain became a symbol, a shadow became a marking, a smudge became a message. They argue that the stories grew in the telling, details were added, embellishments were made. What started as a minor oddity became a full-blown legend. They argue that there is no physical evidence, no photographs that have been verified, no samples that have been analyzed, just stories, just testimonies, just memories. And they're right, there is no definitive proof. But here's what I would say to the skeptics. How do you explain the consistency of the reports? Hundreds of witnesses, across decades, across continents, describing the same symbol, with the same details, without ever communicating with each other. How do you explain the cases where the symbol appeared before Michael Jackson arrived, in rooms that had been inspected and photographed? How do you explain the security footage that showed no one drawing anything? How do you explain the feelings of dread and unease reported by so many witnesses? Skepticism is healthy, skepticism is important, but at some point you have to ask yourself, what if there's something here that can't be explained? What if there's something in this world that defies our understanding? What if Michael Jackson really was marked by something beyond our comprehension? The symbol isn't the only mysterious thing that happened in Michael Jackson's hotel rooms. Let me share some other strange reports that have emerged over the years. Multiple staff members reported hearing voices coming from Michael's rooms, not Michael's voice, not the voices of his staff, different voices, speaking in languages that sounded ancient, unfamiliar. A concierge in Paris reported receiving a phone call from Michael's suite at 3 in the morning. When she answered, there was only static, and then, faintly, what sounded like chanting. When she called the suite back, Michael's assistant answered and said that no one had made a call. A bellhop in Las Vegas reported seeing a figure in the hallway outside Michael's suite, a figure that didn't look right, the proportions were wrong, the movements were strange. When he approached to ask if the person needed help, the figure simply vanished. A housekeeper in Tokyo reported finding strange residue on the floors of Michael's room, a powder or dust that she couldn't identify. When she swept it up, she felt a burning sensation on her hands that lasted for days. A security guard in New York reported that his flashlight would malfunction whenever he patrolled near Michael's floor. The batteries would drain, the bulb would flicker. Once, the flashlight turned off completely and wouldn't turn back on until he left the floor. These reports are scattered, they're isolated, they don't form a clear pattern like the symbol sightings. But they add to the overall sense that something unusual was happening around Michael Jackson, something that can't be easily explained. Michael Jackson's home, Neverland Ranch, was also reportedly the site of strange occurrences. Staff members who worked at Neverland have spoken anonymously about experiences that mirror the hotel reports. Strange symbols appearing on walls, voices heard in empty rooms, objects moving on their own, electrical equipment malfunctioning, a pervasive sense of being watched. One former groundskeeper reported seeing the symbol carved into trees on the property. He assumed it was vandalism at first, but the carvings kept appearing, in different trees, in different locations, faster than any vandal could have created them. A former security guard reported that certain areas of the property made animals behave strangely. Dogs would refuse to enter certain rooms. Horses would become agitated near certain buildings. Birds would avoid certain trees. A former housekeeper reported finding the symbol burned into the carpet of Michael's bedroom, not drawn, burned, as if someone had used a branding iron, but there was no evidence of fire, no smoke damage, no explanation. Neverland Ranch was sold after Michael's death. The new owners have reportedly made significant changes to the property, renovations, demolitions, rebuilding. Some researchers believe these changes were made not for aesthetic reasons, but to remove something, to cleanse something, to destroy whatever had taken root in that place. But can you really destroy something like that? Or does it simply move on to the next host? In 2014, a former member of Michael Jackson's personal staff gave an anonymous interview to a paranormal research organization. This person, who we'll call James, had worked for Michael for over a decade. He had traveled with him around the world. He had been in hotel rooms with him. He had witnessed things that still haunt him to this day. According to James, Michael was aware of the symbol. He knew it appeared in his rooms. He knew it had been appearing for years, and he was terrified of it. James described one incident in particular. It was late at night in a hotel in Germany. Michael was supposed to be sleeping, but James heard sounds coming from his bedroom, crying, whimpering. He knocked on the door, no answer. He knocked again, still no answer. Finally, he opened the door to check on Michael. Michael was sitting on the floor, in the corner of the room, as far from the bed as possible. He was staring at the wall above the headboard, staring at the symbol. Tears were streaming down his face. James asked what was wrong. Michael didn't respond. He just kept staring at the symbol. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Michael whispered something. James had to lean in close to hear. Quote, "It's getting closer," end quote. That's all Michael said. "It's getting closer." James asked what he meant, what was getting closer, but Michael wouldn't explain. he just shook his head and kept crying. The next morning, Michael acted as if nothing had happened. He never mentioned the incident again, and James knew better than to bring it up. But James never forgot those words. It's getting closer. What was getting closer? And did it finally arrive on June 25th, 2009? Now we need to address the conspiracy theories that have grown around this mystery. Some people believe that Michael Jackson was killed because of what he knew, not about the music industry, not about corporate corruption, but about the supernatural, about forces that operate in the shadows, about things that most people are never meant to see. These theorists point to Michael's lyrics, his music videos, his public statements. They claim he was trying to warn us, trying to reveal secrets, trying to expose a hidden reality. They analyze songs like Thriller with its themes of darkness and transformation. They analyze Ghosts with its explicit supernatural imagery. They analyze Blood on the Dance Floor with its ominous title and cryptic lyrics. They claim that Michael was marked for death the moment he started revealing too much, the moment he got too close to the truth, the moment he became a threat to whatever forces were controlling him. The symbol in this interpretation was a warning, a reminder, a threat. Stay silent or else. And when Michael refused to stay silent, when he kept performing, when he kept creating, the forces decided he had outlived his usefulness. June 25th, 2009. Is this true? I honestly don't know. I'm not here to push any particular theory. I'm just presenting the information. But I will say this, the official explanation for Michael Jackson's death has always felt incomplete, unsatisfying, like there's more to the story than we've been told. Maybe there is. Michael Jackson has been dead for over 15 years now, but his legacy lives on. His music is still played around the world. His influence is still felt in every corner of the entertainment industry. His face is still one of the most recognizable on the planet. And the mystery of the symbol lives on too. To this day, former hotel workers still talk about what they saw. They gather in online forums. They share their stories. They compare their experiences. And they still can't explain what happened. The symbol has become a legend in the hospitality industry, a cautionary tale, a reminder that some things in this world can't be explained by logic or reason. New employees are sometimes told about it during training, not as an official policy, of course, but as an informal warning, a heads up. If you ever find a strange symbol in a room where a celebrity has stayed, don't touch it, don't try to clean it, just report it to management and walk away. Let someone else deal with it. Because you never know what you might be inviting into your life. As we approach the end of this video, I want to leave you with some questions to ponder. Why did the symbol appear? What was its purpose? Who or what was creating it? Was it connected to Michael Jackson specifically, or was he just one of many people being marked? What did the symbol mean? Was it a protection, a warning, a claim? Why did the symbol change over time? Why did it grow larger? Why did it become more complex? What happened after Michael died? Did the entity move on to someone else? Is it still marking rooms somewhere? And perhaps most importantly, are there things in this world that we're not meant to understand? I've spent months researching this story. I've talked to witnesses. I've analyzed reports. I've consulted with experts. And I'm no closer to an answer than when I started. Some mysteries are meant to remain mysteries. Some doors are meant to stay closed. Some symbols are meant to stay unexplained. Before I end this video, I want to share one final piece of information. In 2012, a former hotel manager who had witnessed the symbol wrote a letter to a paranormal research organization. He was dying of cancer, and he wanted to share his experience before it was too late. In the letter, he described everything he had seen, the symbol, the strange occurrences, the feeling of dread. But at the end of the letter, he included a warning. Quote, If you ever see the symbol, do not look at it for too long. Do not try to copy it. Do not try to draw it. Do not try to photograph it. Do not try to understand it. Just walk away. Because the symbol is not just a marking, it is a doorway, a connection, a link to something on the other side. And the longer you look at it, the more you focus on it, the more you try to understand it. The more you invite that something to focus on you. I made the mistake of staring at it too long, of trying to understand it. And now something is watching me. Something is following me. Something is waiting for me. Do not make my mistake. Just walk away. End quote. The man died 3 weeks after writing that letter. The cause of death was listed as cancer. But some researchers wonder if there was more to it than that. Michael Jackson was one of the most extraordinary humans ever to live. His talent was otherworldly, his fame was unparalleled, his impact was immeasurable. But was he just a man? Or was he something more? Was he connected to forces we don't understand? Was he marked by something beyond our comprehension? Was his life and death part of a larger story that we can only glimpse in fragments? I don't know the answer. But I know this: the next time you check into a hotel room, take a moment to look at the walls. Really look at them. Check above the headboard, check behind the furniture, check in the corners. Because you never know what you might find. And you never know who or what might have been there before you. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I know it was long, I know it was intense, I know it raised more questions than it answered. But that's the nature of true mysteries. They don't wrap up neatly, they don't have satisfying conclusions, they just leave you with more questions. If you found this video interesting, please leave a like. It really helps the channel. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you have any information about the symbol, if you've seen it yourself, if you know something that wasn't covered in this video, please leave a comment below. I read every single comment, and I'm always looking for new leads. Also, I want to hear your theories. What do you think the symbol means? Who or what do you think was creating it? What do you think happened to Michael Jackson? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay safe. Because in this world, there are things we understand. And there are things we don't. And sometimes, the things we don't understand are watching us too. Oh, and one more thing. While researching this video, I discovered something that I wasn't planning to share. Something that's only tangentially related to the Michael Jackson symbol. But it's so strange, so disturbing, that I can't keep it to myself. It involves another celebrity, a living celebrity, someone who is currently at the height of their fame. And the symbol that keeps appearing in their hotel rooms. I'm still gathering information, I'm still verifying sources, I'm still building the story. But when it's ready, when I have all the pieces, I'll share it here. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Because this story is far from over.